Hello, I'm Pawel Homenko, and today I will talk how to live as asset creator. I'm 10 years. I have 10 years experience in asset creation and as game developer. I started as asset creator when the asset store was created, and mostly with some simple assets as pop-ups, guidelines for making UI, as UI back then wasn't available in Unity in any sensible way, or some space assets for controlling ships and so on. Nowadays, I'm working in nature manufacture, which is one of the biggest and top-selling creator on the Unity Asset Store and one of the bigger creators on Unreal Marketplace. We mostly create assets for open world to slim entire big scenes with few kilometers to few hundred kilometers of size in Unity. We create rivers, roads, forests. As example, this asset was awarded Unity Award for Best Graphical Assets in 2019. Or this year's asset that we created, mountains, for which you can use in your projects, mobile, PC, consoles, or other applications. But when I worked as an asset store seller, I'm always asked a major question: who can be asset seller? Who is and who can be? So mostly I saw asset sellers from all kinds of jobs. The most popular ones right now are 3D artists, technical artists, programmers, and tools programmers. They sell the most assets, but I also saw some IE programmers, animators, composers who also have great assets that are selling very well. So how do you create assets? Mostly our process is separated into 3 parts. We have 1 month of preparation phase, then we focus on creation of assets, and the 3rd phase that can take from few months to few years is having the assets updated and supported all the way. Because when you're selling assets, the assets sell for years to come. We have assets that we created 4 or 5 years ago that are still selling very well. For example, our latest asset took 17 months to create, and we will support it we plan to support it for 4 to 6 years from this point on. So, what is preparation phase? We first analyze the market. We look what we can do, and we look what can be done with the Unity and Unreal engines in next 1 or 2 years. We mostly create our asset this way that we also look what Unity, as we start with always our approach with Unity, then we move to Unreal. We mostly look what Unity is working on, what is in beta phase, and what tools will be available to us in next few months, or we ask Unity that we get them as early as it's possible. For example, when the HDRP and URP was created, we worked with the creators of HDRP and URP together to see what will be available when it comes to the market. So our asset had the first version of HDRP before it was released anywhere on the Unity Asset Store, and was one of the first assets that showed people what can be done with HDRP. When we know, for example, that there's possibility to create new vegetation, we created the tool for creating forests. When we saw there were no rivers on the asset store, we created an asset that created rivers. And nowadays, we mostly come from this moment, and then we go to the phase of making asset design document. We mostly designed at the beginning of the project, where we update it all along. For example, I will use a lava assets. So at first, we created asset with some images. We read then some information how lava flows, how lava moves, how it looks, how it behaves. Then we got even more information. And after 2 months of seeing lava movies, lava assets, lava information, we watched even some more. So, for example, like now we are working for grant for Unreal Market, and there was, unfortunately, there was a volcanic eruption at La Plaza. It was a bad thing, but we are watching almost all days the movies from La Plaza, how the lava is behaving there. So when you're creating an asset or want to create an asset, check, even if it's a realistic asset, check the nature. If not, check as many information as you can and get as many information and views from the design, from the games that are created right now to use them. If you're creating 2D art style, check what art style is used right now and what games are planned so you can match them or create something that is interesting for people that want to create games. So after this moment, we move to creating 2 things. One, as we are creating 3D assets, we are creating shaders and tools to create assets, because mostly we are using the pipeline with the known assets, Blender, 3D Max, Photogrammetry, and so on. But we also create our own tools that can generate even more. For each tool that we create that is sold on the store, like this tool for creating rivers, we have 4 to 5 tools to creating our own internal assets that go to the store. Because even the best tools like Blender, 3D Max won't generate as fast things as we know. For example, we are creating the billboards for our key assets. Going with 3D Max and Blender loot, it took us 30 days. When we created our own asset that is internal for our needs, it takes us 2 hours. So if you have a programmer that can help you, use him if you're a 3D artist, or create check if someone has better tools than you do. We then create shaders. This is one of the least complicated shaders that we create for our 3D graphics. If you're the beginner, you can use the built-in HDRP shader lead, the URP shader there, or the standard shader. But try using shader graph, learn a little, because it gets even better with each year. After we have the backend, our graphics go and use them to create their own assets, starting from the smaller ones that will be as the basic as close to the camera, and even smaller ones that will be some interesting things that when player runs through the forest and he sees ants moving through the trees, or he sees some statue, it can help the game developers and game designers when they're working on their projects in prototype phase to have something interesting to show. So we have our assets done. This is the easier part for asset store seller. For game developer, they have to create gameplay and game design, but for us, it's mostly creating demo scenes. Demo scenes not only for 3D, 2D assets, but most importantly, demo scenes for all tools that you have. Show the people that are making games how to use your assets. For us, creating even this demo scene took 3 months, because we mostly wanted to show what you can do with our assets, how you can use them in different environments, in different aspects. At the bottom, we have the river asset that we use, and we give samples to our different assets from different tools that they can buy. So they can see, not only with the asset that you are selling right now, but they can see all your assets you have and all the things that you created before. It gives you better marketing, it gives you better information. And one last thing is to think about that many developers want something for the first phase of creating the project. Not only to have something that they will sell to the players, but something that they can use and prototype and check if their idea is good. To make a trailer, to make a prototype, to make a quick block out with this level of graphics, that they can go and show to their investors that they will be able to have something like that in the final product. So after creating the demos, preparing trailers. This takes us with the whole process, few weeks of work, as we try to showcase with each of our trailers all possibilities to use. So to show how the FPP person can move to the forest, how the triple third view person can move through the forest, how you can use them in some strategy views, how you can use them in different, for example, fisherman, which will go to the river. And something like that will first give you attention, but later can show the designers what can they do with your assets.
Långsamt går färden som gången till en gammal man söker i bergen och söker i sand.
If you want to see more, go to the art asset page. This movie alone takes about 8 minutes to showcase all the assets and all the elements that are there. After we create an asset, we are going to make a tutorial for it. Even 3D assets needs a lot of tutorials and a lot of things that you have to teach to people. Because when we are making assets and we are going even further than the engine provides, we have to show the designers, 3D artists, what can they use them for. And not only in the engine, yeah? We have lots of people that come to Unity Marketplace and take our assets for use in Blender, for use 3D Max scenes, for use in concepts, for use in movies, for use in Unreal Market. Before we release our asset for Unreal Market, so many people buy it on the asset store and move to Unreal Engine. So you should show them. For 3D asset, the best way is to show first the assets, then make some quick video that showcases how to create a demo scene for them own. And the last thing, in creation of asset documentation. For 3D assets, it can be as short as one text document that can showcase what settings did we use and what settings are best to use for this asset in the developed platform. If your asset can be used on a PC, make it for PC, make it separate for mobile. If you're using different engine versions, make documentation for each version of the engine you are going to support. Because in Unreal, it's not as many changes between the engines for 3D assets, but there are some in the pipelines and in the shaders that you can use. But in Unity, especially if you're making a 3D asset, even 2D asset, and you're going to release it to standard, to URP pipeline, and to HDRP pipeline. They are totally different pipelines, and you have to check each version of the pipeline you're going to use. And for the tools, it gets worse. For tools, you have to prepare your assets not for the senior developers that can take most of your tools and use them just easily, but you prepare the documentation that the person that first turns on Unity sees your assets, buys your assets, and puts it in their end game. They can use your tool. So UX and documentation and tutorials is one of the most important things, because getting a bad review because someone who is beginning his journey with Unity doesn't know how to use your asset is quite bad, especially at the release of the asset. Yeah? So for example, our assets can have documentation for tools from 50 pages to 200 pages. But I saw some more complicated tools on Asset Store that had 300 to 500 pages of documentation. And I'm not talking about specific technical documentation, but documentation that's mostly a few pages of tutorials to doing one thing. And they go to the table of contents, check what they want to do, and are searching for tutorial how to do it in your documentation. And now the hardest part, the release. First, marketing. think about it before you release your asset. Release some media outlets, some information to the Facebook, to the Twitter, to the Discord, to Unity forum, and get as much attention as you can, especially for the beginner sellers on store. Because, and if you're more, if you have more assets and you're one of the bigger sellers, then create your community as fast as you can. We make a big jump when we created our Discord and gathered few, like now I think we have 2,000 of developers on our Discord that will look and that will like and that will send further our community information that we send them when we are still working on an asset. Mostly we try, as most of our assets are created around 1 to 2 years of work. We send the information after 6 months of work, after 1 year of work, and then gradually when we are nearing the release, we are giving the information quite daily or even not if hourly, what is happening, what you can do with our assets and what you can see. Then plan the project release, mostly similar way that you plan your games to release. So prepare major paid, even if it's small paid, for example, for Facebook, few dollars that will go for 1 week, can give you few thousands of more views and sales of the asset store. And then prepare that you will have to update your asset within first week of its selling on the asset store. Most people give most support questions in the first week. Then it gradually goes down. And after the bigger sale, when your asset sells, the support goes up even more. And then plan to release the asset on as many stores as you can. We mostly work on 2 stores, on Unity Marketplace and on Unreal Marketplace, because our asset takes about 2 to 3 months to port to different marketplace. But with assets that are smaller, you can make it faster. And the support, as I said, takes quite long. These are the Unity versions we support with our River assets, and each version had to be rewritten, mostly shaders and some program tools as Unity changed along the way. And Unreal, the same but slower, and Unity can change within a week. We had the prepared, it was for the forest asset. We prepared everything. We contacted Unity that will be selling a big asset. And 1 week before the asset sale, Unity dropped big major update that nobody knew about. That changed how the old shaders work. So we had 1 week of hard work to rewrite most of the shaders in the project because they stopped working. So be prepared for this kind of informations. And some informations about Unity store. The Unreal store is smaller, but I will give you some information later also. So Unity Asset Store is full-grown market. It is 10 years old. It has more than 60,000 assets and 11,000 publishers. So at the beginning, it's very hard to have even more sales because most of the sellers on Unity Marketplace earn less than $300. It's tough market. It's tough to get to, but if you're going to alone, because I know people who are earning this much alone on the Unity assets. So, and I know, for example, you know the tool that is called Bolt was created at the beginning as one person, was top selling asset within a year, and I think was bought by Unity within 3 years of being on asset store. So it can be quite a good market, but it's heavy to get at start. We, at the beginning, started to work on this asset. Oh, it looks not so bad. I will give some more information. When we started working on asset store, we mostly worked at after-work job. Yeah, we created some assets. In this part, the 2 important words, Steam and Trembrush, give us the first money that we knew can give us some support. And after releasing few more, around 2017, we moved to, I don't know, around here. We moved to getting fully on the marketplace. And as you can see, the big peaks are Unity sales on the sale. And the sales are getting quite common. The orange color of the chart is the sales. So the sales can be almost all year, getting only 1 to 2 months when there is no sale. And most money comes from the sales you will get into. So writing to Unity, writing to forum, and giving as much attention to your asset and support will get you to the sales. But not only Unity is the possibility, and not only the marketplaces are the places where you can earn money. You can also look for the websites that have bundle sales for assets. They may not give you a lot of money from bundles, but then give you much attention and much marketing on the top marketplaces, that is Unreal and Unity Marketplace. For example, Humble Bundle for us didn't give us some money, but it gave us a lot of more publicity on Marketplace and getting the spot on the first page of Unity Asset Store. And this is giving a lot of more money than any other bundles. Second possibility, you can work for hire when you are selling assets. Because if you're selling assets in one kind of graphics that someone likes, most probably if he buys your asset, there is a big chance that he will want to buy more of these kinds of assets from you. And you can make contracts that you make this asset for him, but you also release it then on a marketplace. So you can have two streams of this work, and the same goes for making games. You can then make games from your own assets if they are good ones. And this is depending what do you want to do. Do you want to be a seller and creating technology and tools for others, or do you want to sell yourself? So a few things to keep in mind when you're asset store seller. Create demo scenes and tutorials. This will listen your support, and support for our case is almost 50% of our time right now. It is support for our assets. Prepare assets for as many engine versions as you can, as the support will also be this one thing. People want their assets to work this way, that they take assets from asset store and put it in the engine and it works. And they don't look on which version of the engine they are right now. They won't check in your description most of the time for what engine versions the assets should work. They just want it to work for that version of the engine. Build your community. The easiest one is, as always, Facebook, Twitter, Discord, but also Unity Forum for people that are more technician, and especially as Unity cut down the Unity Connect webpage, the most traffic goes to the Unity Forum and to Discord like in these days. And be prepared to have lots and lots of support, because smaller indie devs can have a little support, but big companies that can buy more of your assets or buy your entire asset catalog will want support on the level even of talking with you on Skype, how to use your assets, how to provide them, and what is the simplest way to create some amazing things with them. Okay, so any questions? Thank you. Yeah, microphone here at the beginning.
Thank you first for the talk, and I have a question about naming your assets and whether you narrow it down as much as possible, or you try to reach as many customers as possible, even if it might not fit them.
Mostly, I think that it goes the same way as selling other stuff, that the naming should give the information as quickly as possible on what your asset is doing. And to be basically it should give as many people as much possibility to use your asset. Because if you narrow it down very little, first person we want, whether you're scrolling on the page of an asset store, most people look at the two things, the picture, and then they give you 2-3 seconds to look at your name. If within this timeline you won't get their attention, you mostly won't. But the second thing is that not a lot of people look through the pages like that, only on sales when there is lots of assets on sales and they want to check what is on sale, then they will look this way. But most of the time people just search it. Yeah? So give us more information in tags and in the description, because that's what the engines are using for searching your assets. Not only the name, but also the tags that you give and the description that you give in the asset.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question more about like technical assets, because there is two way how to provide like scripts to end users. So one company providing it only in DLL state and another sharing their code. So what is the best propose like with the paid assets and what to do in that case?
How to use scripts or DLLs? Yeah. Mostly it's hard question. We in Nature Manufacture want to give the people to use our tools as much as they can. We like to work with our community, and it pays a lot because the community sometimes can come to you and say, you know, you have a bug in this asset, but I check your code and here is the information how to resolve it. Yeah? Or this asset is great and I found a new way to use it. This is the code that you can use for it. And giving that is easier than sending or when people come to you and say, oh, you know, in this DLL there's some problem, but I would have to obfuscate it and search for it. So can you search for it now? So this is the one side, that the people can check your code quickly and they can find their own solutions, or you can send them quick changes in the code to check if it works for them. But there's the other side of the coin. We are in the world where there is piracy. And there is lots of people that will take your asset, copy your code, change it, and release it again on asset store or other marketplace that you didn't release your asset yet. So this is always the question, do you want to be nice to your community and work with them? Or do you want to be secure that the people that will use your asset this way, that they will buy it, and then ask for a fund 15 minutes after they downloaded it and started copying it to the different page.
Thank you. And second question, what do you think about such purpose when you, for example, selling obfuscated like code for $1 and you are selling a set with open code for $10? I mean, for the same stuff.
Yeah, we thought about it, and mostly I'm a person that likes open code. Yeah, if I'm selling something to someone, I want to give them the possibility to use it any way they want it. And when you're closing it, you're closing a little to your community. So it's always the same question. Yeah, do you want what type of assets you do, what tools are you making, and for whom you are selling them. We are aiming at people that want to use our assets in as many ways as they can. And closing it behind DLL won't allow that for them to do. So as we are working very closely on Discord with our community, talking with them, exchanging ideas, what you can do, how you can do it, talking about the parts of the code you can change, it helps a lot to them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any more questions? Are there any online questions? No? So if you have any more questions, you want to ask, you want to talk, you can always contact me. I help a lot. I help a lot on my Discord, Nature Manufacture. I help a lot with Skype or emails I can give you. So thank you. And I hope you had a great gig.